Hi, folks. Dr. Muddassir Ahmed here again with one more episode of the Supply Chain Show. As you know, I bring in one of the best people in the industry to talk about one of the hot topics, right? And today's hot topics is how manufacturing and logistics industry can use the word IoT, Internet of Things, and big data. Everybody uses those cool words, but actually, do we know why we use it and how we're going to use it? And this is exactly we're going to talk about today. And the person we're going to talk about is one of the leading bloggers in this space. Which is Kumar Singh. He has a blog called a Smart Supply Chain blog. I have recently included his blog into one of the top 20 blogs, which I recommend on SCMDOJO. If you go to the blog, there is some awesome material. I mean, it's mostly very technical material, but this is, I think, we need. This is what we need as a supply chain professionals to start understanding what's happening from the technology perspective, from the, what are the applications and how we're going to do this. So Kumar is in USA. He has been a consultant in this space. He's got like 20 different master's programs, from MBA to a master's in AI and machine learning. He has been the consultant in this space. So he is the expert or the go-to person, not just the IT guy who understands technology. He's actually an engineer, a business professional, a business leader who has learned technology and how it can actually drive effectiveness and efficiency in this space. So Kumar, I'm very excited to have you on the show. How are you today?
Doing good, Dr. Muddassir. My pleasure to be on your show.
Did I miss something in your introduction, in your awesome introduction? So maybe you want to add?
No, I think you were being very kind in your introduction. So thanks a lot for your kind words, Dr.
Good.
Muddassir.
So let's kick on, right? So I'm going to start from something very basic, right? So I'm, for example, a CEO, a VP director, or an operations manager. So I'm keep hearing those buzzwords. Okay, IoT will change the whole supply chain. For example, the big data is the next big thing. It will change the demand planning. It will change the manufacturing. The whole real-time data reporting and stuff like this. But the thing is, in my experience, most of the senior people or the senior managers who has been in industry for 15 plus years don't know much. They know it's important, right? But they don't know why it's important. So I'm going to ask you this simple question. So first, explain me why it's important to understand the whole IoT and big data space in manufacturing and in logistics supply chain space. So first is the why part, and second question is, which is related, how we should go about and learning this, because you are the great student and the coach in that space, right? So tell us how we go about and start thinking and applying.
Sure. So let me start with what are the key drivers, as in why IoT technologies, suddenly you see this increased interest in leaders on implementing this, and why it's actually a necessity, and actually it will soon become a necessity in many industries. So at a high level, I would actually put the key drivers into 4 different categories, right? So first of all, the IoT technology allows you or provides you an opportunity to transform your operations and increase more alignment. So it allows you, if you are a manufacturing company, if you have a smart factory setup, for example, or IoT sensors on your assets, you can actually re-engineer your manufacturing flows, production flows, the way you operate your manufacturing processes to achieve operating efficiency. So that's just an example of this bucket of the technology to transform operations. If you think about it from the logistics digital twin perspective, having the smart fleet capability allows you to actually route your vehicles in a way that you could not do with your conventional route optimization methods. The second bucket is the opportunity to enhance your customer and business engagement and actually improve customer satisfaction. So again, starting with an example of manufacturing, right? If you are a manufacturing company, you have these assets out there at customers' floors with all the data that you collect. And if you provide your customer the service to alert them, as in saying that this manufacturing, say this particular turbine is showing signs of failure, and it may be failing, or one of its component may malfunction in advance before the customer runs into any kind of disruption. Imagine the kind of value and the customer experience, the kind of positive customer experience you will generate. So it definitely does help to enhance customer engagement and experience. Same goes for, again, on the logistics side. If you think about smart fleet, if you can actually provide the customer the kind of tracking, not only in terms of where the vehicle is, but how the product is inside a trailer, what temperature has it traveled, if it's a temperature controlled product, while coming to the drop-off location. Those kind of customer experiences, they are not only engaging the customer, but they are also providing customer satisfaction. I think the third is IoT technology allows you to expand your product offering. So like I was mentioning earlier, manufacturing companies, they have this big opportunity where they can actually load their machinery with sensors and convert them into not just a physical product, but a virtual product as well, right? So they can start bundling data services with each equipment they sell, providing the customer an opportunity to use their services for predictive maintenance, for example. In the case of Bridgestone, for example, right, there is this technology, I guess, that they are working on that allows them to measure the tread of the tire, wear and tear of the tire. So that's another aspect, right? You sell that as a service to the client and you make money. Not only you make money, but in the process, if you let the client know that a tire, the thread or wear of the thread of the tire has come to a certain extent that it may run into accidents, it provides a very useful insight for the customer. So here, I think that's a classic example of product offering in leveraging IoT technology. And I think the final category that I see is the most important one is it allows you to build ecosystems, both internally and externally. So imagine a company that has a smart factory, then they have a smart fleet, they have a smart warehouse. All these entities can connect together. And what if their suppliers have smart entities leveraging IoT? Then it becomes much easier because of the way the infrastructure of these smart entities are based off cloud and edge analytics to integrate them and thereby create an expanded ecosystem. And that, I think, will be the foundation of the true end-to-end digital supply chain of the future that we think about.
You know what? That is one of the best summaries I have ever seen, and I've seen a lot of them, right? So I think you put it together very nicely. Is the transformation of the operational efficiencies? That's pretty good, pretty solid. The second thing you said, customer satisfaction, and I think you use the word customer engagement, which is much better than customer satisfaction, because customer satisfaction is, you know, your cost, quality, delivery, lead time stuff. But with this whole IoT stuff, you can engage them more. That means you improve the retention, improve the whole the way you're doing business, which is great. The third one, which is I think the more interested, and you give a very pertinent example, is expand your product offering, right? So before I come back to this point, I will come back to on this again very, very quickly, but just to repeat the fourth one, which is basically allowing you to build an ecosystem, which is I think the big vision, right? The smart cities and all that. But that's vision is important. We will achieve all that, but it might happen in my lifetime. I don't know about this. But the third one is, this is the one I'm very interested, is expand your product offering. And basically integrating data with your product, which is sensing technology, and your example of the Bridgestone with the thread and depth and how we collect data, because what we're trying to do is say how risky the tire will get, right? Or how the way you're driving, and help you in giving some, for example, instructions to do it better, right? What we call it is not predictive maintenance, it's actually preventive maintenance at the same time. So a lot of stuff is happening in the fleet solution. But here's my question, right? I have not seen so far, maybe you can tell me with example, where people have, because the way I see this, all the manufacturing people or the logistics, let's focus on manufacturing. They make money by selling product, right? This is where they have product lines. Okay. Now they're integrating basically this whole expand your product offering with the digital solutions. I see this as a separate product line. What I mean by this is how we can monetize this. So what's your view on that part? How companies should go about and basically tell the customers, this is our total solution. So we don't sell tires, we also sell this data which helps you to do better, and I want to make money out of it as at the same time.
So I think there are like three different angles to look at it, right? One is from a company perspective. If you look at it, I don't think it's any longer a nice to have, but it's rapidly becoming a must have. Because if you have a product, and if you're not putting smart sensors or essentially converting it into a smart product, there are companies, startups, so many of them, hundreds of them, waiting or maybe actually already working in that space to come and fill that void. So I think from a company perspective, it makes perfect sense to actually make that initial move themselves and offer that product. Because again, I'll take the example of Bridgestone again. If the solution that comes pre-bundled with a product, I would be more confident in that versus taking something else and then plugging it in on top of a product. It's just like aftermarket part in the automobile industry versus the original part that comes factory installed. You have more confidence in that, right? So the manufacturers have an edge there, and they know that if they don't do it, they are going to lose revenue in the future. From the third party perspective, if you look at it, I guess what they see is there are so many opportunities right there. There are like, I see many companies that have kind of missed the initial bus and now trying to work in that direction, or they still haven't. And there's a big market out there. I personally know because I interact with many startups in this area who have identified these voids and are rapidly working on it so that they can get something before the original equipment manufacturer starts bundling that service. So that's another aspect. But I think the third aspect and more realistic one where I see this going actually is basically the sweet spot where these OEMs and these third-party companies, vendors or startups actually collaborate and work together. And the reason I say that is we may end up discussing challenges of implementing IoT later, but this also kind of helps eliminate one of the key challenges in the IoT space that I see is interoperability, which is basically there are so many widespread fragmented solutions out there. If you are trying to build a interconnected threaded digital thread or fabric, you have to basically tap into so many solutions from different vendors. So I think the third sweet spot is all these OEMs and third-party companies, solution providers, they come together to create that unified fabric, and they together market it as a single platform solution. I think that is what I see as a more feasible future if we want to have a single unified platform and want to see actual rapid progress in this domain.
No, so yes, this leads to our discussion pretty nicely, right? So what are the three basically challenges you see in making it happen? So we will come to enablers. I think we'll come to enablers later on, but let's discuss the challenges.
I think if I look at challenges, there are technology related challenges, and then there are challenges that I like to call organizational challenges. They are more like strategic and organization related versus technology. And I think those are the key ones at this point that need to be actually taken care of first versus the technology ones, because the way the technology is exponentially basically advancing, any hindrances or bottlenecks or holes that we see there will get plugged in pretty fast, pretty quick. So one aspect, key aspect that I see is the solutions aspect that I mentioned. I see there are collaborations happening, but not to a scale that you want them to happen. And again, I think the key reason is that organizations are not collaborating enough with these startups who are actually driving the true real innovation in this space. So I think that collaboration needs to happen much more. Because what happens is these organizations that have existed for quite long, their innovation engine is typically not as fast or as agile as a startup in this domain. And there are examples where many third-party logistics companies have, say, collaborated with smart fleet startups. And it's kind of a win-win collaboration, because you get access to a technology that would otherwise take you years to catch up with. And on the startup end, they get actually access to truly test their product in a production environment to see if their product works well. So I think that's one key aspect. The second key challenge that I see.
Can I just interrupt you there, because
Sure.
this is I want to expand on this point, right? Because again, part of the journey on both sides as well, and someone who understands technology as well. So the way I see this, so if you're an OEM, right, and you said it almost twice right now, that the sweet spot is the OEMs who has been historically the best in class to make product. Could be tire, could be aeroplane, could be whatever logistics solution, right? They need to collaborate with the startup or the people who are working on the IoT solution and work together to accelerate. I get that point, but here's the issue I see, right? Because most of the OEMs are doing, they're trying to do their own thing. They're trying to hire the smart big data people, the engineers, and the electrical guys who knows about sensing technology, and asking them, okay, let's embed all this technology and let's create our own application. And then it's the question of strategic core competency. So what I'm really good at, right? Am I good in making tires, or am I good in making big data IoT application, which is the whole different game, right? So, or most importantly, knowing my core competency, am I understanding my markets better, my customer better? One thing is wanting it. Second thing is making it happen with the customers. Otherwise, it's no point, right? So, but on the other hand, the startups who are working on that space, right? They don't know the product, right? This is not their core competency. So they need to get hold of some kind of, let's call it OEMs who can help them finding the right application, right? So how we find this middle ground, right? So in my view, the middle ground would be is up the platform strategies. So we should focusing on building a platform where all the OEMs can leverage the technology available, because how the technology works, right? The standardization needs to come. This is one of the biggest challenges for IoT. If there's no standard, then there will be a same war between Apple or Microsoft, the game, right? So how you would think this whole sweet spot will merge into a platform space rather than every OEM doing their own thing?
Yeah, sure. So if you remember the initial 4 buckets that I mentioned, final one was building the ecosystems, right? So that's what you have mentioned is like the perfect example of that ecosystem, right? Building a platform. So there are 2 aspects, right? When we think about that platform, Industry 4.0 platform, practically, there will not be one single player who will be able to build that end-to-end platform. And that is why, to your point, these OEMs, they need to collaborate even with each other, with the startups and technology providers. For example, the likes of, say, Accenture and the other system integration IBMs of the world. They need to actually collaborate more with these OEMs and collaborate with these startups to build that ecosystem. So the platform is the future, like I was saying earlier, that sweet spot, but it will not be created by only a handful of players. There will be many players that need to come together to provide something that is kind of industry standard, right? That many different players can use. So that's one aspect of it. There's another aspect, not very major, but another aspect is when you think about companies like Rockwell Automation or GE Digital, that have been a manufacturing company, but that have also pursued this digital angle for a long time. They are actually in a much better spot to collaborate with the least number of partners, yet be able to create a platform. So I think those are the companies that need to take the lead maybe and open themselves more to collaboration versus the other companies that are just starting. I mean, I know Rockwell Automation has one of the best integrated products, at least in the smart manufacturing space. So I think the product that they have would require like minimum number of additional ecosystem partners to build a good platform in manufacturing space. GE does a great job again. So I think that's another option or alternative that we have that may be much faster. But the end, or I think the gist or the summary is that yes, platforms or expanded ecosystems are the future in Industry 4.0, but they will take a lot of collaboration, a lot of trust also as well between the partners to create an offering that can be used by multiple companies.
No, you're right. You're right. So I think we can always discuss this topic much longer, but I think as a concept, we agree on definitely that part. So coming back to the challenges we talked about. So this is more, let's call it organizational or intra-organization or inter-organization challenges, right? So what would be the other challenges you see from the people's perspective or the process perspective or the technology perspective?
Yeah, so I know skill set keeps on coming as a challenge. It's a more of a challenge internally for organizations when they try to find people who can actually help them maintain a smart setup sustainably. I mean, there are many strategic partners out there these days, some of the big well-known names. So there's no trouble. I mean, I wouldn't say no trouble, but they should be able to find a good aligned partner easily to implement that capability. But I think the key challenge is finding the skill internally or hiring the skill that can help them make the most out of this kind of a platform, because it's not the platform, it's the how you leverage the data generated, how you leverage the functionalities and features of a platform to basically extract the maximum advantage. That's the key. So I think skill set is one key challenge. Another key challenge is that I believe many organizations run into is force fitting this technology on their existing systems and processes, and then expecting something transformational to happen just by leveraging this technology. But the key aspect is any technology, whether it's IoT or any technology, any system you pick up, there are three underlying aspects, right, of a transformation: people, processes, and technology. So technology, I actually, even though that is one of my area of expertise in supply chain, I place it like at the bottom of these three, because I think processes and people are also extremely important. We touch the skill set side. What organizations need to understand is that they need to take a step back to understand, before we implement this, do my processes, do they look aligned to what I'm actually envisioning to gain from my Industry 4.0 or IoT or smart factory or smart fleet perspective? What changes do I need to make to the underlying processes so that once I stack technology on top of it, I will be able to actually build something that is best in class? Yeah. So I think that's another challenge, that organizations are basically trying to leverage the new technology on old processes.
That's good. That's good. So skill set is definitely one, is to acquire and develop. And the third is you can't force your, let's call it, I don't want to use the word obsolete, is existing or old technology and try to fit the new one. Otherwise, you're basically going to get a horse and a cart with some sensors, which does not make sense, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Right. Okay. Good stuff. So now we move to enablers, right? Because this is where someone like you come in, because you know how this things works, right? So let's assume I am one of the chief operating officers, and you are my consultant. This is your next 5 minutes to convince me what should I do? What are my key enablers to make things happen, to have a smart factory, or sensing technologies to create big data applications to help my customers better.
Sure. So you must have heard like 100 different things and read very intricate stuff, very complex things about what the key enablers are. But at a very high level and at a very simple level, you need to look into just two aspects, two kind of enablers that you actually need to make the best of your IoT Industry 4.0 journey. So one is the technology, like I was mentioning earlier. I like to keep them in two buckets. So there's a technology, and then there is people and process aspect. And again, I think the key enabler of your Industry 4.0 journey would be the people and process aspect, because that's where the strategic planning aspect is involved. So first of all, you need to understand what is that you want from this implementation, right? What is the end goal of your digital transformation journey? What path you want to take? That's the most key aspect, having a good feel of your current state versus future state. So some of the four key drivers that I mentioned earlier, it's a good time to revisit them, to understand, do I want to basically transform my operations and enhance customer satisfaction, or am I looking to basically expand my product offering only and then maybe improve my product design? So those are the key things that you need to basically understand first, rather than just going after something because everyone else is going. So that one of the key enablers of this journey would be the strategy formulation, that you need to understand how to devise that strategy. And the second aspect, I guess, is to make sure that your organizational structure is also aligned. So people, when they think about the transformation, we generally are so much focused on technology that we miss focusing on whether the organization is structurally aligned for a successful transformation or not. So you have to take care of the strategy, the organizational structure aspects first, and to make sure that you have people who are vested in actually digital, who believe in digital transformation, who are not just in spots where they will have a key say, but they are just there because they were asked to be there. Because believing is a key in these kind of transformations, because the change is not going to happen with a flip of a switch. So unless you believe in something, you may start expecting results maybe a lot sooner, or start questioning things. But if you have belief in something, that digital transformation is key to long-term organizational sustainability, is the future of the organization, you not only make a good foundation early on, you are more vested, your people will be more vested, and that ties very beautifully with the organizational structure, right? So you make sure that you have people in all the right places who will be managing or interacting with your digital transformation program that IoT will be a part of, who actually believe in this thing. So that's another key aspect, I think, a key enabler that you need to have. So those were the organizational strategy side of it. On the technology side of it, I think one of the key aspects is your AI and ML machine learning hype mindset. So when I say hype mindset, is what I mean by that is how much of AI and ML hype that we are currently going through, and that hype is well deserved, right? But there are two aspects to a hype. Hypes happen after every few years with a new technology, but how much of that hype you are actively engaging with, right? And the reason I say that is because sometimes these initiatives do not generate the value just because of technology, but they generate the value because, tying back to my point of believing in the technology and making the best use of hype. So, for example, if your organization is still in the world of Excel, in supply chain planning, is not very advanced, is not looking at advanced supply chain planning and transformation tools, and you suddenly start planning to embark on a supply chain 4.0 smart factory or smart fleet journey, it may be a big step change for you, right? So I think the key thing when I say from a technology perspective is that you need to build the hype, is that you need to build a culture of absorbing and adopting AI, ML, and other emerging technologies in the operations organization, so that people actually are more aligned to the most recent technology, are more aligned to technology as a whole itself, and they start developing that mindset of adopting and looking at new and emerging technologies from a different lens. So I think that's a big aspect. Now, coming into another key enabler is the cloud explosion, right? So most of the analytics and other applications you will hear most of the time that they are moving to the cloud. We have cloud-based applications like SaaS and PaaS. I think the technology itself has given a major boost to Industry 4.0 in the terms that it takes all the challenges that you would have faced a decade ago in re-engineering or like building the infrastructure in-house in terms of the hardware that you would need to actually build something as massive as an Industry 4.0 network. So that's another key enabler from a technology aspect. Obviously, the open sources tools now allow the software development to be very quick and fast. So that's another key enabler that as an organization you have that you can leverage quickly and scale up your solutions faster and in an inexpensive way, actually. And then finally, this explosion in sensor technology has made sensors are becoming cheaper with every passing day. And that combined with the software development, the ease of software development has opened the door of edge analytics, where you don't even have to send data to the cloud. So machines generate data and you can do some initial analytics right on the edge near the machine to draw initial insights. So that's another key enabler that you need to look into. So I think if you look basically into both these buckets of technology and enablers and organizational enablers from one single perspective and make sure that you have all these aligned before you embark on your journey, you should be successful in your Industry 4.0 IoT digital transformation initiative and should be able to gain the benefits of the four key drivers that I mentioned in the beginning.
I think you explained it very well, but I have a theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
The theory I have is this. So when we go through the master and we study about this, in general, there's two kind of product development, right? Which is a technology-driven product development or a market/customer-driven product development. But there's something somebody wanted, the problem and you want to produce, or someone like Apple iPhone, when they created something, nobody knows how good it was unless you use Apple iPhone. Then you realize, oh, really, I really need this. I can't live without it. But then I think there's a third one, which is I would call it a pandemic-driven market product development. When now the shit like that, COVID happens, and you think now the whole digitalization is like into a steroids and it's going like tenfold. If pandemic would have not happened, then we probably would not be doing things what we're doing right now. Within so the whole innovation has improved. The learning curve is fast and the innovation is fast. So the point I'm making is this. So my gut feeling is telling me without any data that the technology is there, and I think you laid out pretty nicely. The hype of IoT is there, the cloud is there, the PaaS and the SaaS, the open source platform, all of that is there since last 4 or 5 years, right? So everybody knows. Mm-hmm. But the pull is not there, right? Because again, as you said, the management or the people who are embarking on that journey needs to believe on it. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm getting a bit philosophical, but this believe word, you're right, is very important here. But what makes them believe that should I hire X amount of people, spend about X amount of dollars? Because I have seen these projects are not easy projects, right? So this is my last question. So where the pull will come from? Should we focus on the application which is solving a big market issue for OEM, or they just take that risk, or just wait for the problem to come to them and then do it? So which come first? I know I have a very complex question, but I'm feeling.
Yeah, I think I got it. So what I have been explaining when you asked me to explain it to a CEO was mainly the enablers, right? But I guess your question is main around like why we should do it, right?
Yeah.
So I think taking a specific cue, my take if I am trying to convince someone to go on this journey, embark on this journey, specifically if you are a big OEM, I would certainly actually advise to not wait and actually start the digital transformation journey. And the key reason that I say that is specifically once we have emerged from this whole pandemic thing, if you are a manufacturing company, you understand how digital technologies have actually allowed manufacturing operations to operate in a socially distanced way, right? So using these technologies, the emerging technologies, including IoT, it's not just about creating a product offering, but it's also about improving and transforming internal operations. So I think the benefit is twofold. While the end result, if you may have an end goal of having a product bundling data and services with your actual hardware product, that may take some time to realize. Some of the midterm, I would say, benefits that you can realize from this journey will be more than enough actually to provide good return of investment if you actually start now. So there's no, I think the situation is more like a win-win thing. There will be two wins if your end product also gets into the mass market and is accepted well. But one win that is ensured is that if you plan it strategically and nicely, you will be able to actually achieve efficiency within your operations as well, leveraging these technologies within, for example, like if you are bundling that data services, even if your customer decides not to pay in the beginning, imagine the savings that you can generate on the warranty services, right? From the data that you capture, right, on these equipments, you can actually optimize your warranty product offering and make more money on that, right?
You know,
So that,
we should. I mean, we can talk all day, but we should smile. I think we should finish this episode with this thought, and your smile, because that says is a lot, right? Because that is exactly the opportunity we have, right, on this space, right? So I think we will. I would like. I think we should do more episodes, but I think for this one, I think you have explained the whole challenges, enablers, and why we should do it pretty well. And for me, it's almost like if you watch this episode, is almost talking, reading a one full book of how we should embark this journey, right? So Kumar, thank you very much for for being the guest. I think I really enjoyed talking to you, and I've learned a lot. Again, thanks for your time. It's absolute
same
pleasure.
here. Same here, Dr. Muddassir. It was actually a privilege being on your show. So thanks
Yeah,
for
no
inviting.
problems. So,
Thank you.
folks, I'm sure we will have Kumar a few more times, because there is a lot to learn from him, because he is in the space where I think the life will go and the world will move. So I'm sure we will follow the lead from Kumar. So thank you for watching this episode. The usual: like, share, subscribe, and yeah, keep it simple and keep it real. Take care. So if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments below.